Welcome to the Mighty Emotions podcast. I'm your host, Giselle. I'm a certified emotions coach, and I teach you how to respond better to your emotions so you can feel better in your life. My mission is to show you how to work with your emotions to become more emotionally resilient. Your emotions are not designed to overpower you, they're designed to empower you. On this podcast, I share what our emotions are, how to understand them and work with them, and the tools you need to reclaim your power and get unstuck from emotional pain so you can find fulfillment in your life again. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get into the episode. So we are back. And today, I want to talk to you about something that I have recently, I'm always thinking of new ways to explain things because the clearer I can be, the more impactful it can be, right? If it sounds too confusing, it'll go over everybody's heads. And that's something that I found a lot in the spiritual community, the self-development community, that sometimes they would say things that would be like, this is coming from a much higher elevated place of consciousness and experience than I have right now. You need to break it down for me a little bit more in simpler terms. And so everything that I do is hopefully really simple, really straightforward, really relatable and tangible for you. And as I cut myself off, today I want to talk to you about feelings in this way because feelings and emotions tend to get used interchangeably. And I can tell you that in this positive psychology space, if you don't know, I have a specialization in positive psychology. It's actually laid out how they're actually different things. And I think the reason that we use them interchangeably is because our language is just so limited. The English language I'm speaking specifically of. Um, and we use feeling as a verb, but also as a noun. So we use feeling as in I'm feeling, you're feeling, he feels, but we also use it as in a feeling. I feel this thing. Um, so it's really like I feel a feeling. That's kind of how our language works, right? And so it's like, what is a feeling? And then we hear emotions and people, I feel emotions. And so we think because both feelings and emotions are felt, that they're the same thing, but it's important to understand the nuance because the root of each is different. The cause of a feeling is different from the cause of an emotion. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today. So, we know, if you've listened to previous episodes, you should know that emotion is a physiological signal of an unmet need, period. So you have a core need and that's not getting met, and you're going to have this instinctual, physical, visceral response to that. And it can be in a situation where your need isn't getting met. It can be your need wasn't met in the past and you never processed it and dealt with it. It could be that you are just having a situation where your need hasn't been met for some time. It's being neglected and it's starting to bubble up to the surface. But it's always, an emotion is always connected to a need that isn't getting met, a need that isn't being satisfied. And so we get super frustrated with ourselves for having these emotions when A, we can't do anything to stop them, B, thank goodness we have them. Because to me, sometimes I live my life so focused on the external and so focused on goals and so focused in one area of my life that I neglect other areas of my life. So, for example, I love working. My work gives me purpose. It gives me meaning. So it meets that need. It helps me connect with people. So it meets that need. But it's not always playful and fun. And it can't be, right? It can't be everything for my life. I need to have things outside of my work where that meets that need for freedom and play and fun. And I bring some fun into my work. If you're my client, we laugh and we get through it. It's not this heavy, grueling work all the time. But in the grand scheme of my life, work is just one part of it. I have family, I have relationships, I have, I need leisure and hobbies and things that I do for fun. So when I've been devoting a lot of my time to just working or just learning things that I love, things that meet my need, but I'm neglecting my need for play, I'm going to have a lot of emotions come up that's trying to get me to be aware of that. And so I'm grateful for our emotions, right? Now, we also have feelings, and feelings are not directly tied to our needs. We can have needs being unmet and still feel pleasurable feelings. And the reason for this is feelings are the way that we interpret our emotions and interpret our situations. So we create our feelings literally with our thoughts, and the way we perceive a situation, the way we're thinking about a situation, the narrative we're telling ourselves about a situation is what creates our feelings. So this is why you'll hear a lot of mindset people say, well, you create your thoughts, you create your feelings with your thoughts, so you just need to change your thoughts and you'll feel better. And this is true, but they're missing the nuance. That is, your feeling is not an emotion. And so people think, well, I still feel sad, I still feel angry, and I'm doing all this work on my thoughts. It's like, yeah, because sadness is about your need for connection and anger is about your need for self-protection. And that's not the same thing as just thinking different thoughts. Our thoughts are really powerful in that they can be solutions in our life, but they can also be obstacles, right? And paying attention to our thoughts consciously all the time is the opposite of living our lives. Like, we need to be doing things and present in our lives. We can't just be constantly focused on our thoughts, right? We have to be mindful of them and know how to work with them, but we're not meant to just focus on them 24/7, right? Which is why I help you understand the root of it is that nurturing, that self-nurturing. Because when your needs are met, you're going to experience more feelings of ease than when your needs are not met. And even if you have the most wonderful, amazing mindset and you can perceive a situation in a great way, your emotions are instinctual and they'll always surface. They'll always come to the surface. So you can change your mood, which is your state of mind. You can change your feelings by focusing on your thoughts, but that won't necessarily shift your emotions. So that's the first thing I wanted to bring up. The second thing I wanted to bring up is that there are many, 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 many ways to describe how we feel, because there are many, 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 many ways that we can create a story, right? A story can have all different types of characters and plot lines and twists and turns and antagonists, and there's so many elements to a story. And when I say a story, I mean like literally what we're telling ourselves about other people. Other people are like this. The world is like that. These are stories that we tell ourselves. It's just a way that we explain the world, the way that we interpret it, the way that we understand it. And these stories generate feelings. Now, despite the fact that it's really important to identify what you're feeling and what emotion is showing up, and we do that work when we work one-on-one to help you unpack that and get clarity around that so that you become familiar with it and it doesn't take as long to kind of do the digging. What I want you to know is, again, breaking it down in a really simple way for you. There are only two feelings. So there are many, many ways of describing a feeling, and there are many, many different words for feelings and adjectives and all of that, but there are only two feelings: ease and unease. So in your body, you're either feeling at ease or you're feeling uneasy, anxious, discontent. See, there are many words for it, right? And that is important to know, because when you're not feeling at ease, I want you to know that there's a thought there to pay attention to, right? So the thought is creating that uneasiness, that dis-ease, that anxiety. Now, what is that thought? Well, what I like to do is to work with the body first, because that dis-ease is also generating energy in the body. And if we don't know how to regulate physiologically, where you learn about nervous system regulation, somatic therapies, I incorporate that into my work as well, because it is the first step to working with the mind. The body is the gateway to the mind. We work within the body, we process that disease, that discomfort physiologically first, so that we can ground ourselves, come back into more physical ease, right? Get out of the story, which will return us to a state of ease. And then we can look at it from a different vantage point. Then we have perspective, which is looking at it from a different angle. And we can say, here's the thought that's showing up for me. Okay, where did this come from? And can we choose a new thought? And if you listen to my other episode, episode 35, I believe, I talked about choosing a new thought and what requirements. There's a few requirements to choosing a new thought that's actually going to have a lasting impact. So definitely go and listen to episode 35 because I kind of went in on that. But for this episode, I just want you to be aware that that feeling of uncomfortable, that feeling of discomfort and discontent and anxiety is just trying to get you to pay attention to the thoughts that are creating that unease, the thoughts that are the stories that you're telling yourself in that moment. So let's give an example. If you're in a job that you don't like, for whatever reason, you don't like the job, it doesn't really fulfill your need for meaning, you're going to feel dissatisfaction. There's going to be emotions that show up. Sadness might show up, resentment. Well, resentment's more of a feeling, but disgust might show up, right? Core emotions are going to arise, this discomfort in your body. And your mind is going to look for things to explain this, especially if you don't know what your emotions are signaling and how to understand them and you're not familiar with it. So your mind's going to go, oh, this job is so awful. Oh, these people are so irritating. I don't really want to do this. So these negative thoughts, or these thoughts that are not helpful, I should say, I really don't like to get into the negative, positive thing, but the thoughts that are not helpful are creating dis-ease. So now you have more anxiety because you're in a situation you don't want to be in. You're thinking that you don't want to be in it, but you're not leaving. So it's creating all this incongruence and tension within you, right? Your body's saying, act, move, get out of the situation that's not meeting your needs and that you don't like. Your mind is telling you don't want to be there, but you're not doing anything about it. You're not taking any action. It's generating a lot of anxiety for you. Our body is always signaling for us when we're out of alignment, but it's expecting us to act in a way that brings us back into alignment. And what leads to our actions? Wait for it. Our thoughts. Our thoughts. I feel like you knew I was going to say that. So we're having these negative thoughts. These thoughts are not leading us to take any action. So they're not serving us in any way, right? And they're causing a lot of dis-ease. And you can reflect back on okay, where did I develop this idea that I'm not happy in my job? What is it about my job that I'm unhappy with? And you can start to work with your mind and use your mind for the powerful tool that it is to find answers, to find new thoughts that are going to lead you to act in the way that you want to act. Take the action that your body is telling you to take. Get into a situation that's more in alignment, right? If you've ever wanted to leave a job that you don't like and you feel that discomfort every day, dragging yourself to go up, and you're like, I just don't want to go to this job anymore, but you're going, you're gonna feel anxious, you're gonna feel uncomfortable, you're gonna feel resentment, you're gonna feel frustration. There's all this stuff that's gonna come up, both physiologically from your emotions because your needs aren't getting met in one area, and also from your thoughts. Now, in the work that I do, we focus on you getting your needs met, period. Because when you can start getting your needs met, either within the job itself or in your life outside of work, it starts to bring you back to more of a state of equilibrium. And then you can look at, okay, now that I'm feeling better in my life because I'm doing these other things to get my needs met, now we can use our creative energy to think about, okay, what do I need to do to get out of this job? What would be more in alignment? How can I achieve this? So it really is about working with the body, the mind, and the action piece. But that's why it's so important to understand what our core needs are and which needs aren't getting met, and finding healthier ways to get them met, because that's going to help us feel better. Feel the verb physiologically, we're going to feel better, right? And then when we're feeling good is when we're able to be creative and inventive and choose new thoughts and think new thoughts. But if we're in a situation where our needs are not getting met, we're not listening to our bodies, we're not dealing with it and working with it, we're pushing it down and suppressing it, but we're trying to choose new thoughts and we're trying to do all this thought work, there's just going to be so much incongruence. It's going to generate so many feelings of unease. And it's going to be really hard to get out of it. It's going to feel like a spiral and we're going to feel stuck. So that is why I teach with the Mighty Emotions method that the core of this work is about getting your needs met first. What do you need in your life that is currently missing from your core needs that can help you feel more satisfied in some way? And that is the energy that you can use to give you the momentum to find solutions, to choose new thoughts, to get clear on the thoughts that are no longer serving you, right? Whether you want to call them negative or not, I highly suggest that you start to just look at your thoughts as either helpful or not helpful. I find that that has been the most positive, empowering experience for me when I was just like, you know what? Instead of calling it negative, positive, judging it, fighting it, like it's helping me right now or it's not helping me right now. Okay, what thought would help me? Well, I could think a thought of like, well, what do I want to do for work? Is there a position in the company I could transfer to? Do I need to just strive for a better position? Do I need to apply myself more in this position? Is there something I can learn? Our minds are incredible. You can find so many solutions. You really can. You can find solutions to almost anything. And I say almost because maybe there's 1% where you can't. I'm just saying that to just cover my cover my butt. But your mind is so powerful, and when you ask it the right questions, it can come up with so many solutions because we consume so much information. There's a solution in there, I'm telling you. But it starts with the baseline, the default. What is your default setting? How does your body feel on any given day? And looking at it from your whole life, not just your job and what needs are not getting met in your job. Because if a certain need isn't getting met in your job, it could be getting met outside of your job. I'm going to say that again. And I'm just using the job as an example, but it applies to any area of your life. If there's an area of your life where a need is not getting met, that doesn't mean that there's not an area outside of that in your life where that need cannot get met. And it will have the same impact on you. You do not only need connection in one friendship with this one person that you went to school with and you grew up with and you feel like you've grown apart from, but you don't have any new friends. You can find connection to nature. You can find a group, a connection to a shared mission and goal. You can find connection to family. You can find connection to yourself. Feeling this need for connection there's endless ways of that getting met. When we focus on it only getting met in this one area, we limit ourselves and we block ourselves from being restored to a state of optimal well-being. We block ourselves from being able to prosper because we're so constrained in that area that we forget we have this big, beautiful life. We have options and we have choices. And that's why knowing how to work with our emotions, knowing how to understand these feelings of, oh, I feel at ease right now, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to pay attention to what I'm thinking. I might journal, I might write about it, I might just bask in it. Or I'm feeling uneasy right now. What's going on? What's out of alignment? Where do I need to get a need met? Where do I need to take action? What can I do differently? What needs to change? And we can get frustrated and caught up in like, well, how do I change it? But that's a whole separate thing, right? The way that you change it in my work is always by going back to the core, going back to the default, going back to, are my needs met? Where are my needs not being met? And how can I get my needs met in a healthy way? And that will give you the energy and the foundation and the momentum to build upon the other areas, to choose new thoughts, to have more feelings of ease. It all works together. It all collaborates. It all works harmoniously. So if you are like, Giselle, this sounds great, but I don't know what my needs are and I don't know how to identify them and I need help with that, send me a message. You can come over to mightyemotions.com and send me a chat. You can email me at mightyemotions@gmail.com. You can send me a message on social media. Get in touch with me. I do needs assessments. So we will sit down. I will ask you a series of questions. I will assess where your needs are not getting met. I will assess why, what are the obstacles that are preventing these needs from getting met. I will work with you to build a plan to get these needs met, right? This is what I do. This is how I work. And that will give you the foundation to build upon. Because if you're in a situation where you're deprived of your needs, it's going to deplete your energy. It's not going to allow you to work with choosing new thoughts, having new feelings, taking new action. So it always goes back to the basics, but also noticing that uneasiness is a signal to pay attention to and to choose new thoughts and choose new stories. and how to do that. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. This is what I love to help my clients experience. And so if you'd like to have this experience, get in touch with me. We can book a consultation and we can talk more about it, answer any questions you have, and book a needs assessment or book a one-on-one session so that you can get the support you need, because I want you to prosper and you deserve to prosper. I don't want you to just know that you're worthy. I want you to feel worthy in your life every day. And it is possible. If it's possible for me, it's possible for anyone. So, with that, I love you for listening again. I'm excited for your feedback on this episode. If it resonated, let me know. And if you disagree with anything I said, or if you're confused by anything that I said, let me know as well. And I'm happy to have a conversation. I love chatting with you guys, and I'm here to support you. All right. See you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It would mean so much if you could subscribe, leave a review, share with your friends and family, and let me know what you think by going to my Instagram at mighty_emotions and connecting with me and letting me know what you loved about today's episode. It really means a lot that you support this podcast, and I love coming to you each week with a new episode. So be sure to subscribe, let me know what you think, and take care of yourself.